Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today we're diving into a story that is just absolutely incredible. We're looking at a deeply moving Kahane Saransh, a story summary, that proves exactly how resilience and karma can completely intertwine when you're faced with unimaginable hardship. We're going to unpack the story of Garib Rickshawala, and let me tell you, this narrative takes us through the absolute darkest depths of human suffering, but also the most incredible heights of selfless humanity. Let's get into it.
So I want to start by asking you a really profound question. When fate tests you at every single step, what should a person do? Seriously, do you break down? Do you just give up? Or do you keep pedaling? This question really sets the emotional stage for our protagonist today, a man named Suraj. His harrowing journey is basically a masterclass in answering this very question, and we're going to map out exactly how he managed to survive it.
All right, part 1, Suraj's poverty and struggle and the immense weight of illness.
Okay, let's dive into this. Our story starts with Suraj. He's a guy running a very small grocery store on a street corner, and he is just drowning in family struggles. But the thing about Suraj, he absolutely refuses to give up. See, this isn't just about a lack of money. It's about the suffocating weight of poverty mixed with some really severe illnesses. Just think about the cascading burdens this guy carries on his shoulders every single day. First, his wife Radha is suffering from a chronic TB cough. She's constantly ill, but they simply don't have the funds for proper treatment. On top of that, his elderly mother's vision is rapidly fading because of severe cataracts. But then, there's his son, Raju. Raju is a bright student, and he dreams of growing up to become a district collector. Amidst all this despair, his son's bright future is Suraj's ultimate motivation. It's the anchor keeping him going.
But then, we hit this number, 3,000 rupees. Now, to some, that might not seem like a fortune, right? But for Suraj, this is an impossible monthly rent demanded by his incredibly greedy landlord, Lala Mangathram. Suraj's tiny shop is barely making any margin as it is, and this crushing 3,000 rupee demand acts as the inciting incident that throws his fragile little world into complete chaos.
Which brings us to Section 2, losing the livelihood and somehow finding a new path.
So after literally begging for more time, Suraj is forcibly evicted. The landlord, Lala, actually brings in laborers to empty out the tiny store, openly mocking Suraj's poverty while doing it. It throws the family's sheer survival into immediate jeopardy. You might be wondering, why couldn't Suraj just go open another shop down the street? Well, because of this massive number, 100,000 rupees. Finding a new shop with manageable rent was literally impossible. Everywhere he looked, landlords demanded a pugri, which is an upfront key money deposit of 100,000 rupees. This massive financial wall effectively shut Suraj out of his profession. He was trapped.
So, what does a man do when his path is entirely blocked? He pivots. Suraj takes out a loan from a local contractor and buys this beat-up old rickshaw. He famously declares, "Now this rickshaw will be my livelihood." And honestly, it's an incredible display of resilience. He starts waking up at 4 a.m. every single day to slowly rebuild his life from scratch, pedaling through the streets just to buy his wife's medicine and his son's school books.
Now we move into Section 3, the accident and the increasing pain. And guys, this is a truly cruel twist of fate. Just as Suraj starts to stabilize his family's income and finally find a rhythm, a rainy night changes absolutely everything. Let's step through the brutal reality of this hit and run. Suraj is out in a torrential downpour when a speeding car comes out of nowhere and crushes his left leg. The driver, a man named Gopal, completely panics. Seeing his wealthy boss unconscious in the back seat, Gopal decides to just flee the scene to avoid the cops, leaving Suraj bleeding in the rain. The tragic result? Suraj's left leg is permanently disabled. The stark unfairness of this situation it's devastating.
When Suraj is finally brought home from the hospital, his family is understandably weeping. They are entirely broken by this tragedy. His young son Raju even offers to quit school so he can start working. But Suraj delivers this incredibly raw, powerful line. He looks at them and says, "I have only lost one leg, I am not dead." He demands they stop crying. And the very next day, he limps right back out to his rickshaw. It showcases his absolute unyielding determination to keep providing, even if it means pedaling a heavy rickshaw with just one functioning leg.
And the financial pressure, it only gets heavier. Just look at this impossible contrast. The doctor tells him Radha's TB is now life-threatening and requires 5,000 rupees a month for 6 months. At the exact same time, his mother's cataracts have worsened to the point of imminent blindness, requiring an immediate 5,000 rupees surgery. These are crushing, simultaneous demands placed on the meager daily earnings of a man who is now a disabled rickshaw puller.
This brings us to Section 4, Honesty Amidst Hardships. These are the ultimate tests of character. At this point, Suraj is at his absolute lowest emotional baseline. He's facing an imminent threat of eviction over a 10,000 rupee debt, and he just found out his young son Raju is secretly skipping school to work as a street cobbler to help pay for medicine. The tension is incredibly high. Then, while he's pedaling through a deserted alley, 3 armed thugs block Suraj's path, demanding a 100 rupee tax just to pass. Suraj's response is fierce. He tells them, "I will not give my hard-earned money to any bandit," and he takes a severe, brutal beating from their sticks. They even puncture his rickshaw tires. But he refuses to surrender a single rupee of his honest, hard-earned money.
Now you would think this endless suffering would make a person bitter, right? Angry at the world? But miraculously, it didn't. When inflation hit and petrol prices rose, other rickshaw drivers in the area doubled their fares. Suraj didn't. He kept his fares exactly the same, explaining that the people who use his rickshaw are poor and struggling just like him. Imagine being in that position, taking a daily physical beating just to survive, yet somehow maintaining that level of profound empathy for others.
All right, let's look at Section 5, the grand reward of goodness, where karma comes full circle.
We've reached the climax of this incredible story. It's late at night on a dark, deserted road, and Suraj spots an unconscious stranger lying on the ground. And here is the agonizing moral dilemma he faces. Suraj finally has exactly 5,000 rupees saved up in his pocket, the exact amount needed for his mother's eye surgery the very next morning. If he takes this wealthy-looking stranger to the hospital, he knows he'll be on the hook for the admission fees. So, what does he do? Does he walk away in the dark and save his mother's eyesight, or does he spend his very last rupee to save a dying stranger? Feel the absolute weight of that choice.
Well, Suraj makes a totally selfless decision. He loads this heavy man into his rickshaw, pedaling with all the strength of his one good leg to get him to the hospital. And when the staff demands payment to start the life-saving treatment, Suraj reaches into his pocket and hands over his hard-earned 5,000 rupees. He actually sacrifices his own mother's surgery fund to save a complete stranger. But wait until you hear the stunning twist of fate at the hospital. When the stranger's family arrives, all the agonizing threads of this story connect perfectly. The stranger turns out to be a wealthy man named Seth Vikrant. And who walks into the hospital room? The Seth's driver, Gopal. Gopal instantly recognizes Suraj as the man he ran over in the rain all those months ago. Overcome with guilt, Gopal confesses everything to his boss, that he crippled this poor rickshaw driver, and, ironically, this same crippled driver just saved the boss's life.
Seth Vikrant is just overwhelmed by Suraj's goodness, and he immediately takes action. He funds top-tier surgical repair for Suraj's damaged leg. He pays for the mother's cataract surgery, fully restoring her vision. He ensures Radha receives full treatment, completely curing her TB. And to top it all off, he hands Suraj the keys to a brand-new, rent-free grocery shop. It absolutely proves the old proverb, all's well that ends well. I want to highlight this final brilliant contrast the story leaves us with. On one side, we have Lala Mangatram's greed, a man who destroyed a struggling family over 3,000 rupees. On the other side, Suraj's selflessness, a man who gave his last 5,000 rupees to save a stranger. It's such a stark difference. And the best part? On the day Suraj opens his new shop, even the cruel landlord Lala shows up to apologize, his perspective completely changed by witnessing Suraj's pure goodness. Which leaves us with this final thought to ponder today. In a world that constantly tests our limits, breaks us down, and pushes us to the very edge, is our unwavering integrity actually our greatest wealth? Suraj's journey from a broken rickshaw driver to a man who saved his family through sheer goodness is a powerful testament to the undeniable power of good karma. Thank